What's up, fellow tabletop role-playing game lovers? It's I, OGGM, and it's Monday, Valentine's Day. What do we talk about on Valentine's Day? We talk about things we love. And what do I love? Is tabletop role-playing games. And since we're talking all month about the tabletop role-playing games I absolutely love for no reason whatsoever, I thought today specifically we would talk about the campaigns or characters that I have played in my 40 some odd years that I love the most. Now, I've obviously played lots of characters in lots of different games, but there are three character archetypes that I've played that sort of stand out. And I would say of all the hundreds of characters I've made before college, during college, after college, with rare exception, pretty much all of them have been variations of the theme. The most common character I play, of course, is Quirky Skill Monkey. And of course, if we have to go through my long storied history of role-playing, the campaign that probably stands out the most in my mind, that means the most to me, that I still consider the best probably game I ever played in, with probably the best, or one of the best GMs I ever played with, and definitely the best group I ever played with, and probably my all-time favorite character, because my second all-time favorite character is just sort of a variation of that character, the first all-time favorite character. So of course, I'm talking about the 15-year-long Advanced Dungeons & Dragons / D&D 3 / D&D 3.5 campaign, the Company of the Bull campaign that was played every Sunday pretty much for 15 years, run by the amazing World Martial Arts Hall of Fame member TJ Storm and the Company of the Bull. And the character that I played was Myron Nagadine. I mean, there were other characters I played because there were spin-offs and times we took breaks and stuff like that. But the character I played the most in that 15 years was Myron Nagadine, who was just a mess of a character. And I think that was part of the fun of playing him, and part of the fun of just trying to keep this character alive and survive and role play against type and role play this sort of incompetent individual and allow them, in places ways that they could survive in a world that was sort of directed to kill them. If you haven't heard the story about how I met World Martial Arts Hall of Fame and Godzilla mocap actor TJ Storm, basically I met him at a convention where he killed a character of mine. It was at a convention, it was a pickup game. I was playing a character that I had played in a previous campaign run by my friend Tom Lindgreen, Ajax the Dwarf Fighter. He had asked Ajax if there were any enemies, Tom, if there were any entities from my character's history, and there were these three harpy sisters that my character Ajax had frequently run across and pretty much hated. So for some reason, TJ decided to throw them in his adventure. So amongst with everything else we were playing against in this random pickup game, suddenly the harpies show up. The harpies grab me and take me up and drop me. And then we sit there and try and figure out the math for how much damage I would take from being dropped from that height. And it was so much ridiculous levels of damage that of course it killed my character, but it created a crater. And TJ, to his, besides killing me and besides how upset I was, got my number because he was impressed by the way I played, and put on the map of the game world Ajax Crater. And he respected that enough that for the 15 years, that never changed. That crater was still on there. It was on the map. It was part of the world. It was law. Happy Valentine's Day, Aaron! And then a few weeks later, I got a call asking if I wanted to join their regular campaign in Sherman Oaks, Studio City. I went to their game. I don't remember how I got there. I think somebody gave me a ride, or I rode my bike. rolled up my first character for this game. It was an AD&D character. Horrible stats. I mean, just nothing. Horrible strength, mediocre dex, mediocre con, decent intelligence, horrible wisdom, and unusually high charisma. So I played a wizard in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which means I was starting with a D4 hit points and one spell. The one spell I knew was Detect Magic. And I rolled 1 for my hit points. So the very first adventure, I'm playing a wizard who's got a 6 strength, whose dream is to have a 9 strength, who is somehow the student of a gold dragon named Nagadine, that's my last name, who is accompanying this other group as sort of a documenter. The dragon wants to document the world, and he sends me, his apprentice, with this group of adventurers to check up on what the world outside is like. Because he was an oriental dragon, and then they were going back to the non-oriental part of the world. So that was sort of my story for why I was with them. I was keeping track of the rest of the world and reporting back to the gold dragon. And very first adventure, I get separated from the party and placed in a situation where I'm going one-on-one with an ogre with 1 hit point and 1 spell. And that spell is not Magic Missile. The spell is Detect Magic. So I had to figure out how I could defeat an ogre by myself with this incompetent wizard who was sort of insane, because I decided he was chaotic neutral, named Myron because he had this high intelligence, but he had a low, and sort of high charisma, but anything else was just pathetic. So Myron, which now I realize was sort of insulting. And so what I did is I ran up some stairs. I took a bar of soap, and there was a fountain at the top of the stairs. And I redirected the water from the fountain, so the water was going down the stairs, and then I put the soap on the stairs to make them extremely slippy. And then I waited around the corner for the ogre to get to the top of the stairs, jumped out, pushed him down the stairs, hoping that he would slip and fall, and that would kill him. And it worked. There's no way it should have worked, but just sheer badassery and sheer balls deep bravado, this short, pathetic human wizard with a Napoleon complex beat and killed an ogre, which was enough experience points pretty much for me to level, since I killed it on my own. And the very first spell I picked up, of course, was Magic Missile, and that was it. For pretty much 15 years I played that character. And I mean, yeah, he mellowed out in his old age, but it was always just this sort of, the best way to describe him was like a chihuahua. He was small, but he wasn't afraid of anything. He'd run into the worst disasters, with no thought of personal safety, always trying to be a bigger than life hero. And he died twice, but somehow always managed to find a way to come back. And so that's probably my all-time favorite character and my all-time favorite game. So shout out on Valentine's Day to TJ Storm for running a 15-year campaign, for being my friend for 15 years. And some of those were really miserable years, and I was a really miserable person, and he still put up with me. Sadly I moved, and then the campaign ended shortly thereafter. And even though TJ and I still maintain touch via Facebook and instant messaging, I haven't seen the guy since I moved to Ventura, so it's been almost 20 years. Very proud and honored to have shared a small part of his life with him, and very proud and honored of all the achievements he has made out of his life, being recognized, as one of the top martial artists in the world, one of the top mocap artists in the world. But I remember him as the guy who ran the game that still holds the strongest place in my heart for all-time favorite characters. So which was probably why my second all-time favorite character was sort of a variation on that theme, except it was a much more calmed down version It was a bard and pathfinder named Ezekiel Cogsmith, who was sort of loosely based on Doctor Who, and the Matt Smith portrayal of Doctor Who at the time, and the David Tennant Matt Smith portrayal. He was a bard because of the skill bonuses that Pathfinder gave you, but really he was more of an artifactor. He was trying to bring an industrial revolution to the world. He was very positive, very kind, very happy, very inquisitive. He always wanted to press buttons. You know, if there was a mine cart, he would play, you know, figure out if there was a way he could ride that mine cart. So it was a very positive character that I was playing at a very dark time. I challenged myself to be as kind and positive, and just, you know, the complete opposite of where I was emotionally at that point in my life. And that character lasted for about 4 years, 5 years, maybe during the Pathfinder years that we played in. Definitely my second favorite character. Means a lot to me. Definitely, you know, out trying to, you know, play this sort of positive, happy, kind, resolve things without fighting. Didn't really carry a lot of gear. He was a bard, but he wasn't like a bard. He was more like a, just because the bonuses that being a bard gave him. But he was really more of an engineer, I guess. And then that campaign ended thanks to a badly phrased wish. We all ended up in hell. It's Robert! Hi, Robert! And, my character ended up getting possessed by a demon, and that was sort of the end of the campaign. I did get to play in a one-shot game where I played his son, who was, of course, because he was half demon, a tiefling. But we only played that game once. So yeah, that's probably my second favorite character. And definitely a variation on the theme of quirky skill monkey type of character. So yeah, there we go. So Valentine's Day, a tribute to 2 of my 3 favorite characters. Actually, the other reason for this walk is we're going to walk by Seth's Games and Anime, because, as you know, it is closing. And obviously this is a place that is deeply rooted in my 20-year gaming history here in Ventura County. It is the home of every game I've run since moving to Ventura. It's the home of pretty much every game I've played, with 1 or 2 exceptions, since moving to Ventura. It is the home. It's where I buy all my gaming stuff. It's where I've had all my gaming experiences, both positive and negative. I am very, very, very heartbroken to hear that Seth's Games and Anime is closing, but it really comes as no surprise. There's a new owner. The new owner is raising the rent. The store can't cover the rent. The store doesn't make enough overhead to cover the rent. There are reasons why it doesn't make enough overhead to cover the rent. I painted this. So yeah, this is my goodbye to Seth's. Hi, Robert. I'm vlogging Seth's.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome for the goodbye.
Yeah, well,